to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you'd all remain standing, please, for a moment of silence in honor of our servicemen and women and those who have given the ultimate sacrifice. Thank you. If you'd also remain standing just for a couple more moments. Ward 5 has suffered 2 losses in the last week. The first one I mentioned last week, it was Susan Donlin Burke, 20-year resident of Forest Street. She lived on the corner of Forest and Nevada. She's part of Malden Arts, very involved in our art community. She had some health problems but died unexpectedly a week ago Saturday. Her funeral was, awakened funeral was this past weekend. So Susan, for anyone who goes down Forest Street, we will all remember her if you walk that way at all, because she had the most beautiful garden that bloomed all year long, and she was very, very proud of it. And I think it just always makes me smile when I go by to see what's blooming. So in memory of Susan Donlin Burke. And last, another very sad incident that occurred, that happened to a Ward 5 resident, also on Forest Street, 39 Forest Street, Mary McTavish, that actually happened in Ward 4. She was the lady who was hit by the car on the corner of Mountain Ave and Main Street a few days ago. Mary lived a very quiet life over on Forest Street, and would take her cart and go down to Stop and Shop and stop at the Y. She was coming home from one of her daily walks, and unfortunately was hit by a vehicle and killed instantly. Thank you. And clerk will call the roll, please. Oh, and may I just say one thing, councilors. As you know, Lisa's not here, and unfortunately you did not get dockets, but Morgan is here with them, so you will have them in a moment. So, council dockets. So they're normally at your desk, but they're just arriving a little bit late, but thanks to Morgan for making copies for us. I appreciate it.
Councilor Cologne-Hayes. Councilor Condon. Councilor Crowe. Councilor Linehan. Councilor McDonald. Councilor O'Malley. Councilor Sika. Councilor Simonelli. Councilor Spadafora. Councilor Winslow. Council President Murphy.
Here. So under the provisions of the open meeting law, please be advised, all in attendance, that Urban Media Arts, UMA, will be recording tonight's meeting. So just be aware there will be both audio and video recordings of this meeting. First order of business.
We have a guest tonight, paper 365-23, on behalf of the mayor. OSPCD Director Deborah Burke will provide an update on redevelopment initiatives at Overlook Ridge.
Thank you. And we're going to invite Deborah Burke up to the microphone, but before we do that, I'm going to hand the mic over to Councilor Sika.
Thank you, Council President. So it's been a few months since we had a discussion on the updates that is happening over at Overlook, hopefully for the final phase of development there. Deb and the mayor's office have been in constant talks with the Wynn development, and we have some exciting news to share. So Deb is going to show a short presentation, and she'll be able to answer anybody's questions if anybody has anything. So thank you, Deb.
Thank you, Councilor Sika. Deborah Burke, if you would please state your name and address for the record. Oh, certainly. Sorry about that. That would be helpful.
Hi, I'm Deborah Burke. I'm the Director of the Office of Strategic Planning and Community Development, and out of City Hall. And just to piggyback on what Councilor Sika said, every week, but it's more often than that, I have a regular economic development check-in with the mayor. And we run down, the various projects that we're working on as a team. And one of the projects that he felt really was deserving of at least this update in front of the council was the Overlook Ridge project. So I'll do my best. I'm battling a little bit of a head cold, but I think I can make my way through the slides. You do have copies of the presentation in front of you as well. So, we entitled this presentation Overlook the Final Phase because there are actually 2 remaining parcels in the city of Malden to be built out under the original redevelopment scenario for this site. So just give you a little bit of background on the history. This was what I would call a master planned community. We worked alongside officials in the city of Revere and Malden to come up with a master development plan for the quarry. It was a former active quarry that over many years, way back in the early 2000s, was rumored to be redeveloped into a variety of noxious uses, and the city officials from both communities got together to try to see what they could do, and then as part of the process did come up with this developer for the site. The site is 100 acres in total. It probably is pretty evenly divided in between Malden. It's located on Malden's east side, and 50 acres in Revere. And to date, there have been multiple phases completed up at the quarry, and there are currently on site 1,977 housing units. They are all market rate units, and they are managed by a variety of different developers right now. The original master developer was Roseland Property, which is still involved in the project, but they have recently been absorbed by another company called Veris. So you will hear me mention Veris throughout this presentation, along with Wind Development, that has come to the table to propose some interesting housing types for the last remaining parcels. So there are 2 lots that are remaining, and if you can see on the slide deck, they are Lot 13 and Lot 14. The Lot 13 and 14 one are closest to where we hope someday there'll be new on and off ramps to Route 1. They were originally zoned, or they still are, zoned commercial. When this master plan was developed, again, back in 2001, and it went through a series of changes every, maybe 5 or 7 years, they were commercial, and we have not made any effort to rezone them up until this point, potentially. So the developer started having conversations, and we've kept Councilor Seeker apprised, given that this is in Ward 8, started having conversations with the mayor and myself and other members of his economic development team in terms of they were seeking about the possibility of rezoning the parcels for housing. The conversation, I want to be honest with you, has morphed and has taken a variety of twists and turns, I think more for the better now, because as you'll see the variety of housing types, again, if this goes forward, that could potentially be located on these 2 lots. So as we looked at this, we took a step back and said, you have to take a balanced approach at looking at these 2 parcels. And what I do want to say at the outset is I know the conversation, even as we've had dialogue over the MBTA community zoning, that the council, as is the mayor's office, is very, they have a strong desire to maintain the commercial tax base that we have in the city. And I've heard things, from councilors and others that we don't want to see any more erosion of that commercial tax base. That obviously, and you've heard several presentations from Ron Hogan, the impact that has had in a negative way on the city's, Chapter 70 reimbursement money for education. So we have taken those conversations into consideration, and there will be a commercial component as part of this. So let me walk through it a little bit. We start with the inclusionary zoning ordinance, which requires any development, 8 units or more, are required to have 15% of that housing set aside for affordable housing. And the developer here, you'll get the number out at the onset of the presentation, is proposing upwards of 420 units of housing on these 2 remaining parcels. But we've had a lot of kind of, tug of war at the conference table with him about what we feel may be aligned with, one, Malden's housing strategies, what's aligned with this desire to keep commercial development here, and what's in the best interest for the community. They haven't always been easy conversations, and there's still a lot more to be had. I don't want you to come away from this presentation tonight knowing that we have any done deal here or any agreement with the developer. It's still a very fluid conversation back and forth. But where we are at this point in time, and the reason for giving an update to you, is that it has some components that Malden doesn't have. So one thing is they are proposing, I've heard it called different things. I've heard it called senior housing, and I've heard it called housing for 55 and older. So there will be an age restriction on one of these buildings, and it would be rental that would be affordable, and I'll get into those definitions later because that too has a range. Just like these housing types have a range of types, the discussion around affordability has a range of income points. So there would also be housing in addition to the restricted 55 and older. There would be rental housing that would be income restricted as well. They're also talking about tapping into potentially something called the Commonwealth Builder Program, which was rolled out, I believe, by the state within the last couple of years. It's a fairly new program. The state's still learning its way with the program. We had a call with some state folks on this program earlier today, and they're still working out some of the logistics. But what this program would do, it would help finance the construction of affordable housing by providing up to $250,000 per unit, which then would allow the developer to keep the costs at a more affordable price range. What these funds would do, so in addition to the rental and the 55 and older restriction, we are looking at the potential of 50 and maybe 100 units of condominiums, which would be ownership opportunities for, at affordable prices. And then the last piece is that there still is going to be some maintenance of a commercial development component, which we'll get into in the next few slides. Gary and I have a lot of different, conversations around the table on economic development, and, we were kind of kicking around, well, this is rental, and it's 400 units, and there's not going to be any commercial tax base, and he was like, well, that's unacceptable. So, he wanted to, and he's told the developer several times, we want to be open-minded here, but this development, if it goes forward, has to be transformational and have an impact and a meaning that's in direct correlation to the needs of the city. So I just wanted to get to this slide about affordability. And I think even in some of the appearances by Alex Pratt from my office during the great work we did on the affordable housing arena, and even the responses that we did with housing stability and eviction prevention during COVID, I think we've used these terms quite a bit. So there's the term affordable with a cap A that hits certain price points, and it's defined by our current inclusionary zoning ordinance. Then there is the small a in affordable, where there is general affordability, but maybe not at the, the percentage range as required by the inclusionary zoning. As mentioned before, Malden's inclusionary zoning, adopted a couple of years ago, does require that 15% of the units be affordable with a cap A. And I'll get into the income charts later, because I think it'll be eye-opening for you to see the income ranges tied to these numbers, because sometimes percents just make it a confusing conversation. So it would be affordable under IZ to 50% at average median income for your rental units, and at 80% average median income for your home ownership units. So that kind of leaves a cliff between the affordable and the market rate units. And I know it's something that people don't like to hear, but at some point, this development, if it's going to go forward, has to pencil out for the developer as well, in terms of that he makes his or her margins on it. So those state programs, and the one that I had mentioned a couple minutes ago is Commonwealth Builder. They, are gap fillers, and, and in a significant amount of way. $250,000 a unit is a big subsidy. But they allow the affordability to go up to 100% average median income in their units. And Commonwealth Builder is geared towards building wealth. It's taking folks that are in, a low to moderate income situation, having them the opportunity to acquire, a home and call it their residence. And after a certain period of time, they are allowed to build wealth and equity in that property, just like anybody else that occupies a home. It's different than some of our other programs where we have long-term in perpetuity deed restrictions. This one allows for an up to 30-year deed restriction, but I just want you to know that that's not in perpetuity. So they also use these state programs. They get things like low-income housing tax credits, et cetera, and all those funding sources that they can bring to the table help them keep their costs in line in order to produce a product that would have, a significant amount of affordable units in it, and not really, hurting their bottom line. I mean, they're not going to make as much as a profit as they would if they had done this market rate, but it gets them to be able to at least have this thing pencil out from a pro forma standpoint so that they can even get financing to move forward with it. And I will take questions at the end and do my best to answer them. So here's the proposed redevelopment overview. Again, at this point in time, subject to ongoing conversations, and it will also be subject to some public vetting if and when this moves forward for a public hearing before joint ordinance and planning board. Because if it does move forward, it's going to need a zone change for one of those parcels anyways, and then we have to figure out how we keep commercial on the other and also potentially housing. So what's been proposed right now is 420 plus or minus housing units, 100 rental units for the 55 and older residents. And of those 100, they've indicated that 80 of them would be affordable, capital A, and affordable, small a. They're also talking about doing 220 rental units with no age restrictions. So similar to what they have now, although there will be affordability component compared to what they have now, which is all market rate. I just made a typo in that slide. It should say of the 220 units, 80 they have committed at this point in time to be affordable. There's also 100 home ownership units with no age restrictions. And of this 100 will be affordable. And the current proposal as it stands is for 70,000 square feet of commercial space. They originally had talked and just focused on a 112 key, that's rooms, hotel. There's been some discussion about whether we hold them to that or, make that more of a commercial type development. We're not there yet. One good selling point is, and you can do this under fair housing law, that they will commit to having a local preference for Malden residents. The most that they can commit to is a 70% local preference. That's the max allowed by the state for Malden residents. So depending upon, whether there's going to be lotteries or whatnot in terms of qualifying for these units, 70% of them will be set aside for Malden residents. In terms of the home ownership opportunities, which I think is really big for this development, and it's kind of, you have to have all sorts of housing types for Malden. Doing, one of just rental, I mean, you just shouldn't put all your eggs in that one basket. So we've been trying to use ARPA funds that Councilor Linehan chairs a committee with me to try to see if we can foster some home ownership opportunities as well. There still will be an impact on the commercial tax base, whether it's ownership or rental. But we're trying to have different housing typologies across the city that house, people in a variety of places and in a variety of situations. So the idea behind this is that they will create home ownership opportunities that are both affordable, cap A, and affordable, small a. And it's a challenge to try to do both and make all the economics work. But this Commonwealth Builders Program seems to, offer a subsidy that, could see this development kind of move forward. And that's the $250,000 a unit. In talking with the developer, and that's Wind Development that wants to do the affordable housing. Veris does not do affordable housing. They only do market rate housing. That's not their niche, and so that's why they would partner, and they have some sort of legal agreement yet to be executed, but they would partner with Wind Development to do this project. Wind manages Bowden Street Apartments in Malden, but they're also a very seasoned and well-tooled developer that does affordable housing. So the developer advised at one of the sessions that we've had with him that the state is only capping under this program that you can only build 50 units of home ownership opportunities. And we kind of thought with, well, 420, why can't we do more? So Gary did reach out to his contacts at a higher level in the state and does have a verbal approval to double that amount for this project to 100 home ownership units. So I think there's been some definite gains at the table in terms of trying to steer this in the right direction. So in terms of affordability, and I'm going to probably go back and forth with this slide, but you have the handout in front of you. I just couldn't figure out how to get it all today in the 3 columns, so I apologize. But what they're proposing is, there'll be some, 2s, 1s, and 3s, and we haven't narrowed down the composition of them all at this point. But right now, a 2-bedroom apartment, if you were at, earning 30% average median income, you'd be able to, the rent would be $952 for that unit, as opposed to if it was a market rate, it could be $2,901. And for the 1-bedroom, if you were 60% AMI, the rent for that unit would be $1,495 versus the market rate, $2,150. And then for the 2-bedroom ownership condo at 80% average median income, the sales prices would be pegged around $260,000 versus what folks would get $500,000 market. We were on a call today with another developer called TND, which is a really good, solid developer, and it's a nonprofit housing developer. And Councilor Linehan, you may be able to correct me, but they did a project recently over in Everett called, it was on the site of a former church called St. Therese. And they have a handful, it might be 10 home ownership opportunities. I forget how many hundreds, it was like 600 or 700 people submitted applications for the lottery for their 6 units. So I do think that an ownership component to this project will draw a lot of attention towards this development. So here's the income chart, and sometimes it's just easier because, you can maybe relate it to people or whatever. But let's go across the top, the top horizontal line. We, in the home arena that I work in the affordable housing, the very low income limits of 50% income limits. So if you go across, let's say, I don't know, let's pick a household, that number at the top, a household consisted of 3 members. So it could be a person, their spouse or partner, and a child. And so if that household combined income is making $66,800, they would be at that 50% average median income range. And you just go across, you increase the household size up to 4, you could earn $74,200, et cetera. These income limits are updated annually by HUD, and those are the ones that we use through all our programs, and these are the ones that the state would mandate that the developer in this instance would need to comply with. And then if you work your way down, you have extremely low income limits, and those are like the 30% ones, the 30% AMI. So you could have a 3-person household earning $40,050 that could qualify for one of the apartments that could potentially be built there. And then you have your income goes up higher if you're at that 80% income bracket. What we're working on, too, is just of the ones that are 80%, it's 80% and below qualify for, I think you've heard us talk about this over the years, but the state subsidized housing list. And that's the one that sometimes developers say that if we go below 10%, we could get challenged in terms of how many affordable units. We've juxtaposed that with having done that. Barbara, you were here, and I think several of the councilors. We did do that general land area massing study so that, Malden would probably stave off a 40B negative development scenario. But that's not to say that all 40Bs are bad, because there are instances where you can get at a table and negotiate with people too. So we're just trying to figure out how much of this is inventory eligible, and those logistics and have to be worked out at the table. But there's been enough conversation around this development that right at this point in time, we felt it important to get down here and advise you folks. Just in terms of a next steps type scenario. So there's something called MEPA, which is the Mass Environmental Policy Act, through the state's Environmental Energy EEA, I always mix up those, Environmental Energy Assistance Office. So they have to file, they have a project that was approved by MEPA when they first rolled out the whole development scenario for this site. And it included, it was up to more housing than they, more commercial space, obviously, so that's going to affect the MEPA certificate. So MEPA has to say that you don't have to, it doesn't trigger any thresholds for either roadway improvement, infrastructure improvement, to do some of this new development. So MEPA will be in the driver's seat in terms of whether or not they give them the notice of project change. If they're successful in getting a notice of project change, they could start moving forward with some aspects of the residential development. I'm not sure if they could move forward with it all, and I think they could also start with the commercial development as well. Again, as we took a pause, I think it was J. Dean's suggestion going back to July, and we had this in front of a joint public hearing to start looking at, changing the zoning that would allow the residential development to occur. Probably good that we took the pause, because several months have, changed kind of the whole overall development scenario here. But the goal at some point in time, I don't think it's months, it might be a few months from now, if this is going to move forward, it would require a zone change, and it would have to be in a public hearing process where folks would have the opportunity to be heard to rezone those two remaining parcels. They're also asking for similar relief on the Revere side of things, where they're going to do some affordable over there, and I think a small retail component, a coffee shop or something. There will be, as I've alluded to a few times, there'll be ongoing discussions with city officials to ensure that the plan aligns with the city's affordable housing strategies that Gary rolled out a couple of years ago when he proposed the inclusionary zoning ordinance and other things that we did, like I said, to stave off evictions and house people in a stable way. So right now, I think that's the end of the presentation. Again, but I just want to make it clear, this still has a lot of, moving parts, and we're still going to have to do some more discussions with the developer and then a public vetting process. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burke. Councilor Linehan.
Oh, I didn't realize I was first. Thank you, Council President. Debbie, I feel like we've been talking about affordable housing all day. We had our ARPA committee at 4 today. It's been hours of this. But it feels actually great, because I think, the city is doing a lot. We've laid a lot of groundwork over the years, and now that's kind of coming to fruition in a nice way. So this is fantastic. I'm thrilled to see all of this. I want to particularly thank Councilor Sika also, because I know it's hard to say yes to something that could be that big of a change in your community. I know sometimes people feel all different kinds of ways about it. It can be a hard sell, so I think you're to be applauded for being willing to have that conversation. And I remember when this first opened, right? We had a certain vision and we're being nimble, and I think that's a good thing. One of the things that I am wondering about is how do we figure out as this progresses how it aligns with our needs assessment? And I know you touched on it does align with the city's affordable housing strategies, but when we get down to things like the mix of unit sizes right. and how we tweak all of that, how do we make sure that it reflects sort of what folks are, where the gap is in the community, right. just beyond that affordability? I appreciate the affordability right. side, but the unit size or the number of people looking for different things, whether it's seniors, families, whatever. Do we have a system of how we're going to do that?
I think right now, well, not I think, I know. What they've done so far is advanced a series of scenarios. We could have X amount from this 80% to 100. And again, it doesn't even make sense right now to me. So to try to even bring that slide here tonight, I think we would use the housing needs analysis as a way to inform some of that conversation. But also, we're going to have to also see what types of funding that they're going to pull out or maybe free up from the state, and what restrictions the state places on that. Because the state does place, at least with that home ownership program, and that's probably the one that they'll go to them for, although they do fund some rental too. The state does place some of its own affordability restrictions, so we got to make sure somehow that our ordinances talk to theirs.
Sure.
So I don't have a good enough answer for you right now, but I can tell you it's been a question that we've asked and mentioned several times at the table.
Okay, yeah, and I understand these things sometimes evolve, and as you have community meetings, and these programs come into play. I guess the other things that I'm just thinking of, which just food for thought, because I know we're not at the point where we're putting these things in, but when we talk about what the commercial uses could be or might be, just figuring out a way to make sure that that's aligned with what the residents there are going to want or what's complementary, and also just finding a way to make sure they actually get filled. Like the notion of a hotel is super exciting, but I also see a lot of, vacant commercial. It's probably one of the top questions I get is like, why can't we fill some of the ground floor retail and some of the developments that we've done? And I know that that can present a tax write-off that's more valuable than actually doing the work of finding a business to go in. So just something to think about, that we be intentional and try to be, as forceful as we can to try to find businesses that fit, if it's healthcare uses, daycare, whatever that community needs, and then making sure that that actually gets done. And then the other piece is like transportation management. I know having the ramp will be great, but I'm mindful that the last time we talked about the potential of this zoning, I had heard from residents who said the shuttle wasn't running as much as it used to, or doesn't go to every building, and I'm sure Councilor Sika's on top of that, and those are her constituents, but just something to elevate that, we green-lighted this back in the day, assuming that there would be very regular shuttles to the train station, and if that's being chipped away at over the years, this is a good opportunity to make sure that we get that back. I'm thinking on my side of town, there's a 40B coming to Stoneham less than a mile from my house that's going to be the same size as this and putting people also to the train station. So that's quite an influx. Obviously, there's a demand for it, but I want to make sure that when we say yes to these things, that we have that transportation demand management as well. So just things to think about. Wynn's very reputable, and I think the 80% AMI is obviously more than half our community, so that's right where we need to be.
Just if I could on the transportation piece, yeah, that shuttle did stop.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, because I did mention to you that there are several different property owners up there now, because several of the buildings, have flipped. And I'll make this brief, but Roseland, through Veris, maybe about a month, 6 weeks ago, Councilor Sika, reinstituted that shuttle. They took it on their shuttle and reinstituted it. We've also asked them to update all the legal documents that we have with them, which were called the Land Reclamation Agreement back in the day, that we want all their successes and assigns for every building that's up there, because that shuttle was just not a requirement of Roseland, now Veris. It's a requirement of that development. So, so that was, and the other thing, I'm glad you brought up transportation, because, and just being transparent here, we did, and again, it's still going to depend on whether or not this gets approved through a process, but we do have reason to believe that we are going to get a MassWorks grant that will help fund some of the transportation improvements there. They want to move what is now the entrance drive to Overlook Ridge, which is a very dangerous curve. They want to move that entrance drive south of where the joint fire station sits, put in a fully signalized light there, and widen Overlook Ridge Drive, which is the drive that drives through the development. That makes sense. It does have strong support of the state, and we've been invited. Tomorrow there is likely going to be an announcement that, the news is embargoed, but that we're going to get that grant. So again, it's a grant to the city, not to the developer, so the city can chart its own destiny on those improvements.
The last thing I did want to say, this is a little nitpicky, but just when we're talking apples and oranges, I would prefer to have the actual AMI rather than like capital affordable, lowercase affordable. I appreciate the sentiment, and I know that the community sometimes feels like, what does affordable really mean? But I think it's hard as we get further along just to be able to say, this is what we're talking about, and be able to back that up and say it's backed with data and it's based on these HUD classifications. So, you know, I don't mean to pick apart your PowerPoint, but I found that a little hard to follow. So hopefully moving forward, we can just say the numbers that we're talking about.
Fair enough. Thank you.
I'm all set.
Thank you, Councilor Winslow. Councilor Simonelli, Ms. Burke, I just do want to say, in case any of you haven't noticed, our presenter is starting to lose her voice. So
I'm
it's
doing my
getting worse
best.
as she keeps speaking. So I would hope that we would all realize that although this is an opportunity for us to converse with her, she's just trying to present us some information. So I think we maybe all should kind of be cautious about the amount of questions we ask her, because I'm not sure she'll make it to the end. So, thank you. Councilor Simonelli.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to say that this was a very good presentation and well thought out, and I like the out-of-the-box thinking on this. You got a little bit of everything in there, and I know we've talked many times over the years about affordable home ownership, and we should be doing more for that. But yeah, I mean, you got the complete package in here. I just want to say great job, and I just hope it all works out for you guys, you know? Good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Spatafora, and that was good. You have to say anything? Councilor Winslow?
Yeah, Debbie, thank you so
Councilor-
much,
what
and
is
thank
it?
you,
Councilor-
Councilor Seco, for
Oh,
working on
Councilor
this.
Simonelli,
I mean,
sorry.
I know a few things. You know, having worked on the housing and production plan, one of the things in the survey that came very clear is there's a lot of people who want to have home ownership opportunities, so that's great. And I know, I mean, another dynamic is with a lot of, you know, landlords that own our small, you know, 2 or 3 family buildings, and as they age, one of the challenges is finding a place in Malden to live. So it'd be, I don't know how equity works in, but actually trying to attract maybe some of those, you know, owner occupants and make it appealing to them. Like I say, that can, they're looking to, you know, they're looking to move, but they can't move in Malden. So I think that's one of the things to think of as we're kind of looking at those opportunities, not just for brand new homeowners, but having some folks that are a home is a big burden, so this type of opportunity would be better for them. So that's, you know, especially I know like in Ward 5, man, there's some really tough steps to go up as there any place, but it's one of the things we have as people get older, having opportunities like that. So just one quick question in terms of, has it come into any discussions about Community Preservation Act funding from the city? Is that too preliminary? I mean, you're looking mostly state programs right now.
Yeah, that's preliminary, but that could be potentially one source. Another source may be home funds through our office, through our office, which is a federal HUD program, but we haven't been presented with any requests on funding or whatnot yet. They've talked about different programs, if this moved forward, that they would want to try to avail themselves of.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Councilor Winslow, you.
Yeah, I'm done, yeah.
Councilor McDonald.
Thank you, Deb. I also just wanted to express my support. I'm really excited about all of the work that you and your team have been doing to shepherd this substantial project through. It's going to be good for our residents and our taxes and everything. So I'm excited about that. My one comment was just transportation related for you all to think about. As I'm looking at the new bus redesign map and just realizing that if we're going to add this amount of senior and affordable housing, it would be really helpful to think about bus connections. There are 2 lines that'll be going down Salem Street, the 429 and the 426 under the redesign. They head into Revere. There could be opportunity in the building of the ramps around Route 1 to be able to have a cut through that would give people at the other end of the development almost direct access to the 108 bus, which would take them to the train downtown. And the 109 will be a 15-minute frequent bus that ends at Linden Square. And, you know, that's still, I mean, it's close to a mile if you're probably all the way there, but I just wonder about if we, you know, if there's any chance for us to ask the MBTA, because they're always so responsive, to think about like maybe extending that 109 high-frequency route just a little bit,
Right.
you know, to the edge of Overlook.
Okay.
Um,
I mean, I think we'd have a compelling argument with all the numbers of people there.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Okay, no, that's a good point. I made a notation of that. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McDonald. Councilor Condon.
Thank you, Council President. Congratulations, Debbie. Looks like a fantastic project, and Jay Dean, you're always willing to take that step forward to provide things for some of the people that aren't high income in this city, and still you're addressing people over 55 that, let's face it, the city is kind of, the prices are getting outrageous for people to stay into their homes. You look at a city like Somerville, and the houses, two-family houses going for $1.5 million, $1.6 million, $1.7 million, you know, and hopefully we'll be able to keep some of the older people in our community with medium incomes. Thank you.
Yeah, good
Nice
point.
job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Condon. Councilor O'Malley.
Thank you. Do you know what the status is with the connection to Route 1? I know that it was on the tip, and then it dropped off the tip, and I think
It's been, yeah, on and off and up and down. The local transportation improvements that need to be made, which will hopefully be covered by a grant, approximate $4 million. The ramp connections now, given the land donations that have been made by the developer and the work that his team has done on design, is pegged at this point $8.3 million. There have been discussions in a real cursory way with MassDOT about whether or not funds can be freed up to do the 8.3 as well. Right now, the focus would be on the local transportation improvements. But I think they want to take it off tip and not get programmed into the tip again. But I'd have to get you more information, Counselor.
so. So they're willing to build it themselves.
No, they've made some land donations to, make the connections, but they're not, no, it's $8.3 million that they estimate to get those ramps built.
And then just to confirm, if we rezone it, there's a chance that the ramp might never get built, right?
It will depend what MIPA says. I mean, ideally, we want it just because of the connections to Route 1. It would be better for backups that are happening back down. I can't answer that question. I don't know. It will depend how much development, too, that MIPA would allow them to do before making those connections.
Okay, so MIPA has the final say.
They can start. I mean, we're going to try to run the zoning change on a parallel track, but that would be contingent, too, on MIPA approval, just like the past special permit, site plan review approvals had that as a condition.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor O'Malley. Well, seeing no other lights, I think we're going to give your voice a break.
Thank you.
I just want to congratulate all of you, your office, Mr. Hogan, Councilor Sika, for, once again, bringing a project to the table that really kind of embodies, many of the things that we've been talking about over the years. So thank you for taking a pause this past June. Certainly much better than the last proposal we saw. So I look forward to seeing more about this as you continue to finalize the different pieces of it. And thank you so much for coming down and sharing this information with us.
Thank you, Councilor.
Next order of business, please. Okay, public comment. Do we have any? Oh, we don't have any public comment. So normally public comment is allowed under council rules for those who are listening, but tonight we do not have anyone who has taken advantage of that opportunity. So next order of business, please.
Paper 366-23, minutes of the meeting of October 10th, 2023, and paper 367-23, minutes of the meeting of October 17th, 2023.
Do I have a motion to approve that? Motion to approve the minutes from Councilor Winslow, seconded by Councilor Condon. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The minutes are approved, 10-0. Next order of business,
Paper
please.
368-23, petition livery, Murat Amend, 607 Highland Avenue, Malden, one vehicle new, Paper 369-23, petition outdoor parking, Northeast Transport and Snow Services, Inc., 531 R Mall, Broadway, Malden, 10 spaces renewal. Paper 370-23, petition bowling alley, Town Line, 10-pin Corp., 665 Broadway, Malden, 48 lanes renewal. Paper 371-23, petition pool tables, Town Line, 10-pin Corp., 665 Broadway, Malden, 15 tables renewal.
Councilor Seeker?
Refer to license.
On Councilor Seeker's motion to refer the petitions to license, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The petitions have been referred to license. Next order of business, please.
Paper 350-23, order that the council president will present the 2023 City Council Rulebook for review and approval by the body.
Councilor Crowe, would you like to come up here for me, please? Just in case there's any comments. For those who are watching or listening, this paper was sponsored by myself, and as the sitting president or chair of the council, I can't deliberate a paper sitting in this chair, so I'm passing the seat to Councilor Crowe, the next senior councilor. All right. Councilor Crowe, if you wouldn't mind putting my mic on, please. Sure. You even left me a pen, thank you. Oh, you're welcome. So anyway, as you all know, 2 weeks ago, we all looked at the new council rules that were, that I put forth. We did have a couple of changes. We had a change that Councilor Winslow had suggested that was, the document was amended to include that. Based on, how we were moving this forward, tonight would be the night that we would vote on the council rules. We waited 2 weeks for everyone to have time to review them, to see if they were agreeable to them, and we'd like to take the vote this night. Anyone has any comments?
We do have a light. Councilor Cologne-Hayes.
Thank you. I was just, I had sent in a comment about the tech part and remote access, and I'm just wondering if that was added in, or should I be saying that now?
You would have to amend the document. You would have to make a motion on the
Okay.
floor to amend the document to include any changes that you would like to see this evening. And then have
Okay.
it seconded, and then have it voted by the floor.
So I'm just looking at what I sent in.
The one that you mentioned, Councilor Winslow, that's already in the document.
Okay.
He had amended the document
Okay.
last week to include that.
Okay, so regarding the tech, so my apologies, I'm just going to make an amendment now on the floor to see if we can change language to say that meetings will be recorded, on the city council meetings will be recorded. I think before it said if they were, and I had brought that up on the last meeting, will be recorded, and just make it clear that that is following our policy that was already voted on from the tech committee. So I'd be open to any language about that, but I guess it would be something like that our meetings will be recorded
What section
on
would
this.
you like to
Yeah, so
change?
that was 4 point, hang on, let me just go. Yeah, me too, so I,
Cited her section yet.
yeah, no, I know, my apologies. I had it on, I'm gonna have to go into a Word doc, because it's not going.
So Council Linehan said on the computer, when she goes on into the agenda
I have it in
center.
front of me and I'm clicking on it. I just opened the document. It
Yeah,
says, the first attachment is called Changes City Council Draft Rules. It's dated October 10, and I just launched it, and I do have it open in front of me.
okay. I have it too, hang on. Me too, so hang on one second.
You were reading the one that got emailed to us?
I'm in Granicus.
No, that one didn't work for me.
Yeah, I'm trying to open it too, give me 1 minute, I thought.
It says printed reports and show on internet reports, so those links should all be live because these boxes are clicked. So I'm not sure why that's not working.
I don't see the paper in Granicus.
It definitely is, it's 350-23.
Yeah,
What I could do is just email it to you all right now if you want to wait a second.
So the city clerk just said she can see it in Granicus, but she's gonna email it to everybody right now. So those of you that are looking on your computers will be able to get it right now. Point of information, Council McDonald?
Yes, information. Point of information, so when I search the public Granicus site for paper 350, it doesn't show up. So I just wonder if somehow it got deactivated in some public version.
In front of me right here, so I'm not sure why that's happening.
I think it's 54, I think I found it on my notes, but we should all have it in front of us, sorry.
So everybody should have gotten their email. All right. Council Conant,
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for doing that. So it's under 54.00, it's the, but then let's scroll down, because we don't want to talk about the one that's when the counselors want remote. It's,
54.00.
Yep, thank you. 54.6, if any council member is participating remotely, the council president and committee chair announces the name of said member. That's okay. It's the, here it is. If 54.07, if the body has decided to make a recording of its meeting as determined by the council president or committee chair, the council president or committee chair must announce the audio or visual recording. So I would like 54.07 to be amended to state, instead of if the body has decided to make a recording, to state, let me think, the body, or just a clear cut that we will be recording these meetings. That's the part that I had sent in, you know, the wording, just to make sure that we are in fact recording this meeting. Instead of the if, maybe when the body is recording the meeting as determined. See, the council president part is, so,
May I just jump in here for a second? So
yeah, it's the
this
same
ba- this-
question
this-
that I did, yeah.
This basically, this technology policy is basically set up to determine, you know, how we are going to operate as a council. Councilor McDonald asked last week if he wanted to record his finance committee meeting. Could he? Yes, you can. Okay, this is not stipulating who has to record what meeting. At this point, at some point in the future, if you want to, I know what came out of ordinance was that finance and ordinance would be recorded, but it seemed that was very short-sighted. It seemed like that, shouldn't say short-sighted, but you were starting with two, but I think that that's a decision. If you're gonna do one, why wouldn't you do all of them? And I think that is something best left to the chair of the committee at this point. So this leaves it open enough so that Councilor McDonald can record all of his finance meetings, should he desire to. Councilor Crowe can record all of her ordinance meetings, should she desire to. If there's nothing of real importance in that meeting, she doesn't have to. Plus, the other thing that's hard about this is there is no, it's a process or a procedure that needs to be put in place as to what's going to happen and how that documentation is going to work that wasn't really defined. We were giving instructions, and we were telling people who didn't report to us that they had to take actions and do things for us. So as I said during the discussion last week, that's a situation where someone next season, you know, come January, needs to sit down and work with the other department heads to come up with a policy of when you record these meetings, what's going to happen, who's going to be responsible, what are the steps, and have the departments, whether it's IT, Ron Cochran, anyone, you know, agree and have their bosses agree that they are going to actually do that. So that particular piece I did leave out, but I tried to leave it fluid so that if you're having an important meeting, you can record it. Okay, you're the chair, it's your decision, it's not my decision as president. So it was trying to leave it open for now. So that's really how this worked for the moment. But there is work to be done, there's no question about it, just not in this rule book. And once again, this rule book is put in front of you for the sole purpose to make our lives more efficient, more effective, and be able to get business done. So, you know, once again, I'd like you to pass it. There's nothing in here that's egregious. There's nothing in here that I've snuck in. It truly was, it was all done, you know, with the, it was all done to make the council more effective, whether it's committee of the whole, whether it's consent agendas, whether it's being able to have remote participation so we can have everybody participate and not have, you know, people, they can't come and they can't be part of it because they're sick or they're away, et cetera. So I think it embodies, you know, the big items, the big ticket items that we wanted, and also gives people the ability to record, should they desire to record their meetings.
Thank you. So I understand that. I don't think anything was done maliciously. I'm just very concerned that if it's not very clear that we will be recording the council meetings, so not even the committee meetings, but our council meetings, not recording them, but have access, remote access, that it won't get done. So that's like my concern.
Didn't make any sense. Say that again.
So
Council meetings are always recorded, so.
I said not recorded, I backtracked, not recorded, that we would give remote access, like a Zoom meeting, so people can participate in real time or be watching it on a Zoom. So that's what I would like to see in here. And again, I don't,
This whole thing
I
is
think-
geared to,
I think that it's kind of confusing.
It's okay,
Richard,
yeah.
Because I think the remote participation is one thing, the recording of meetings is something totally separate.
Yes.
So I think we are saying that they could, you know, remote participation, and if that doesn't mean that it's going to be recorded, because they're going to be there. But That's sort of the if.
This is
if you-
remote participation for the council.
For the council, that's
Right.
exactly.
Just
I'm
for
thinking, I see what you're saying. So in my, you're right, I read that all and see, that's fine for us. I was hoping that I would be able to see in here, and maybe it can't be written in here, and that's fine. So my concern would be, I would love for something to say, we are going to have a Zoom remote access so that people at home can to tune in. Maybe that's not something that should be in the council book. That's okay. That's what I was looking for. So if that's something that is not clear in here, maybe I'm missing it, or maybe it shouldn't be in here, that's okay too. But if someone could just, I guess, answer that.
No, this does not.
Okay.
If there's a Zoom meeting set up because one of us
Okay, it's
is
just
coming in
us.
remote, I mean, it's definitely, it's going to be there, so other people would be able to log on. They wouldn't be able to participate, but they'd be able to see. So, and at some point, as I said, you can take this and you can expand it, over the next year, and, bring in some of these other pieces once you decide that, what's working here is working well. And you can tweak this stuff, too.
All right, yeah, I'm not here to hold this up. That's just my main concern, is having, access there. So I would love to, for the community, if there's a way to get it done afterwards, that's fine. It's just something that I feel very strongly about, and I'm not here to, I'm not going to hold this up. I just would have liked it to be in there clearer. Okay.
Thank you, Councilor Colon-Hayes. Councilor Linehan.
Thank you. So I agree, there's a lot we can build on here if we choose to down the line. But I think fundamentally, we have 3 or 4 regular meetings left for this year, for this calendar year. We haven't been able to pass rules despite trying for several years in a row. I wrote the technology policy. I know we had a great committee. Councilor Spatafora gave us a really clear charge when he was the council president. It did encompass those department heads' input, but a lot has changed since then. So while I do want to just make that clear for the community, that the things in the policy that we passed were from Mr. Cochran and Rodriguez and Uma, and we talked to IT, but some of the staffing even that they had recommended doesn't exist in the same way of who would actually handle the recordings and who would advise us if troubleshooting needed to happen. So I think kind of either way, even though we passed that policy and it had their input and it was encompassing of not just ourselves, but also the community's ability to interact, I think we probably have to revisit that, and a future council president probably can and should, and the state law is likely to change on that too, because we're still working under this extension of what was temporarily put in place. So as much as I feel very invested as well, just like Councilor Colon-Hayes in the technology policy and the remote participation, I think we need to think about these all as documents that are building off of each other, that we will eventually get. We have to be adaptable and flexible and get to where we want to go. I think that Councilor McDonald doing the Finance Committee, that set a great model. We've been able to do that with a few other committees. Maybe we could add some more in this year, depending on who chairs those committees. I want to get to that point too, but I do think that we should vote on these rules because a lot of work has gone into them, and we've done a lot of good work to get to where we are, and we can build on it and do more in the future. That's all.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Condon.
Thank you, Madam President. I think there's things in this document, change of rules, that there are things for everybody here in everybody's interests. I know some people were upset because they weren't allowed to go on Zoom. Well, now they will be. What is it, 3 times you're allowed in a year?
Yep.
To come in on Zoom to participate, and that's fair for everyone. I think that you did a fantastic job on this document. I'm not sure, I know Councilor Crowe was involved with you, and
Our city
Amanda
clerk.
played a big part in it. And, who else?
Our city clerk.
And our city clerk, who always participates. So I think it's going to prove out to be certainly a fair document, and also some rules that are more comfortable for us as ward councilors, that we're not prohibited from bringing something up. If we have a resolve that we'd like to passed, we don't have to wait 2 weeks. We can bring it up, get it passed, and it's done. So it won't be taking up our time. And the council meetings will be every week, and it's more enjoyable for the people out there who will be able to watch them on TV too. So, great job.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor O'Malley.
Thank you. So as I stated last time, I won't be able to support these rule amendments at this point. I just don't think that the process has been fair for the council. I do know that a lot of work has gone into it, and I don't deny that, but I just don't think that setting the rules at the end of a biennial session is the way to do this. You know, traditionally what you do is you set them at the beginning of a biennial session, and as we know, it's pretty difficult to change the rules, so changing them now really isn't fair to the council that will be seated in January for the next 2 years. Councilor Cologne Hayes, I would second your motion. I was unfortunately lost because I didn't have the rules in front of me at the time, so I don't really actually know what section you're referring to, but I will second your motion out of respect. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion. Did you make a motion, Counselor Cologne Hayes? She didn't even make a motion. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I appreciate so much.
Okay. All right, do I have a motion to adopt?
I'll second.
On Counselor Simonelli's motion to adopt the rules, second by Counselor Sika. The clerk will call a roll.
Counselor Cologne Hayes.
Yes.
Counselor Condon.
Yes.
Counselor Crowe.
Yes.
Counselor Linehan.
Yes.
Counselor McDonald.
Yes.
Counselor O'Malley.
No.
Counselor Sika.
Yes.
Counselor Simonelli.
Yes.
Counselor Winslow. Yes. Council President Murphy.
Yes,
Thank you all.
the rules have been adopted. Now, Counselor Simonelli, did you have something?
Oh, yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Geez, I thought you would have missed me on that. I was gonna let it go, but
Oh,
thanks.
good.
All right.
You're-
Wanted to say congratulations, President Murphy, and the team that you worked with on this, and I know you worked hard. And I just want to say, you know, it's something to say that, you know, an outgoing president and councilor like yourself, you know, take something like this on, and many other projects that you've been taking on the way out the door. Usually people kind of slow down on the way out, but you seem to like pick up some speed, so we want to thank you very much for that, you know, to try and make things easier for us. As y'all leave and you're still thinking about other people, so I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Simonelli, and I'm happy, seeing as how we haven't had updated rules in 5 years. I'm not sure the end of a biennial session holds much, weight at this point. It's just nice to finally have some rules that will make everyone's job easier and make us more efficient and make the body be able to get through the workload that we're facing in a more effective manner. So thank you all for your support. I appreciate it.
Now, give her seat back.
Oh, are you taking my pen or did I?
No, that's my
Oh, maybe I took my own. I had a pen.
I think that was your pen. Thank you.
I had a pen. Okay. Let's see where we are. Okay. All right. Next order of business. Yes, this is all the ordinance and finance together, yes. Okay, yes.
Paper 372-23, be it ordained by the Malden City Council that the Code of the City of Malden be hereby amended by updating 2.24.040 Parking Enforcement Officers' Salary Schedule. Paper 373-23, be it ordained by the Malden City Council that the Code of the City of Malden be hereby amended by updating 2.24.090 Public Works Supervisor Salary Schedule. Paper 374-23, ordered that the sum of $10,000 be transferred from salary reserve to parking salaries. Paper 375-23, ordered that the sum of $70,000 is transferred from salary reserve to DPW labor salaries. Paper 376-23, ordered that the sum of $30,000 is transferred from salary reserve to cemetery labor salaries.
So I've turned both Councilor Crowe and Councilor McDonald's lights on so that in case they both want to say something. I'm sure one
I make a
motion.
motion that we refer this to a joint Finance and Ordinance Committee meeting.
I'd be pleased to second that motion.
Okay, on Councilor Crowe's motion to send these papers to a joint Finance and Planning meeting, seconded by Councilor McDonald. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The papers will be sent to a joint Rules and Ordinance and Finance session.
Paper 377-23, resolved that it is the sense of the Malden City Council that they wish to invite Malden Poet Laureate C.D. Collins to appear to present work being done throughout the city to advocate for literary arts and advance appreciation of poetry for all.
Councilor Linehan.
Thank you. Well, I think we just wanted to bring CD in. It was a great, I thought, a great step from our city council to appoint her or to authorize us to interview applicants, and she was the one after a very, very competitive process that we selected, and CD actually managed to give remarks at the high school graduation, I think 48 hours later. It was a really quick turnaround, and just want to really have an opportunity to showcase the work that's being done with that position and hear all the visions that, CD shared with our committee when we interviewed her, and also just see if the council has feedback or ideas and just, build some excitement around all the things that we're able to do with the Poet Laureate. I don't know if our council president has anything to add to that.
No, you summed it up nicely. It'd be great to have CD come in. I've heard her a number of times, and we are really fortunate to have her as our Poet Laureate. So we will invite her in, find a time that it's convenient for her to come in to see us. So thank you. Yes, please. So, I'm just thinking it was a roll call and not, but it's not. Okay, all in favor of the resolve? Aye. Opposed? We will invite Ms. Collins in. Thank you. Next order of business, please.
Paper 378-23, resolved that it is the sense of the Malden City Council that there should be a follow-up on the decision to hire a consultant to be engaged to help the council develop a set of norms throughout a collaborative process.
Councilor Cologne Hayes.
Thank you very much. So this is a follow-up on the resolve that I took off the table 2 weeks ago, and I appreciate I had some Councilor Winslow help me with some wording. I love learning, and so I do so all the time, and so I changed the wording to reflect hopefully the feedback that I heard from the last time about having the consultant come in and work with us.
Anybody have any questions? Councilor Simonelli. Oh, wait a minute, Councilor Simonelli. Hold on one second, please. There you go.
Yeah, can you just give me an overall view of what a consultant does? Like, what do they do? What do they do? Come in and tell me how to be a city councilor? I don't know. I just want to know, like, what do they do?
You're still on? Let's see. Nope, there you go. There you go.
It would be exactly what we discussed in our trainings. Maybe you had missed that one, but during our trainings that we had on diversity and equity, we decided at the end that it would be a good idea to ask them back to help us with norms, which we had talked about a little bit the last time too. Basically, how to work efficiently with each other, and how to build a set of norms. I mean, norms are something that's done on a lot of committees, and it just helps you get your work done in a prompt and in a good way. So you might have missed that one, but we did discuss it in the training.
Okay.
That is your question. Okay.
Well, that's it.
Councilor McDonald.
Yeah, thank you, Councilor Cologne Hayes, for these edits. And I just want to say I think this could be a great way to start out a new council term. And I see this as really, yes, just round two that picks up on the discussions that we had and says, okay, so what now? So what do we want to agree to together? And that norms are not rules. They don't carry that weight. They're more about how we treat each other as colleagues and foregrounding the values that we care about. So I think this would be a great way to start our next term, bringing back those consultants who I did think did a really good job and brought a lot of expertise to the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor O'Malley. Councilor McDonald. Councilor O'Malley?
Yeah, thank you, Councilor Colon Hayes. I know that if just to kind of jog people's memories, I think it was 2 weeks ago, Councilor Colon Hayes had a similar resolution on the docket, and it was based on feedback that we provided to her that she's submitting this this resolve tonight. So thank you for hearing that feedback and kind of modifying it so it's a little bit clearer in terms of what we're looking to get at. So I would second your motion, if it hasn't already been seconded, to pass the resolve, and just appreciate that this is something that we've all talked about, both here on the floor, but also in our training, that we would like to move forward with, and I think we even have money set aside for this. So thank you, and I look forward to participating in this.
Councilor Simonelli again?
Yes, I'm sorry. How much does it cost? What's the price tag for them to come in and norms? What are norms? I don't even really know what norms are. I'll be out here. Yeah, no, that's fine. I just want to know.
Mike's not on.
Oh, hold on.
I'd love to have this discussion with you afterwards. We can go over it, but it's basically what we all just talked about again. Norms are how we treat each other, how we work well together, it's just like a normal way of working.
Why we don't do that now?
Well, we can have this larger discussion if you want everywhere. I don't know if we do this now. I'm just
Well,
following up.
but the paper's on the floor.
So
and we're on discussion.
I am answering a question and basically following up on a decision that we all agreed upon unanimously during our training. That's all that's happening here. I don't know if you were there or not, but this is something, and then the council president, I believe, put aside $5,000. I might be wrong, but I remember there was some money put aside.
Okay,
Do I have the floor?
you have the floor, Councilor Simonelli.
Thank you. All right. So I guess I don't really care how many people voted for it and where I did, and maybe I missed that class. I'm just asking simple questions up here on a paper that we're going to vote on the floor. This is where we discuss it, right? So we're discussing it. I'm not alone out there. If I asked the average person walking by right now in front of City Hall and asked them what a norm was, they'd probably say the little guy that you put in your front lawn. They don't know either. So I want to know what norms
That's a
are.
gnome.
I
That's a
wanna know
gnome.
I want to know what a norm is.
I'll tell you,
I want
hang
to know
on.
how much it costs and why we're paying for it.
Let me read it
Because
to
I get
you.
along with everybody. I work with everybody up here. You want to work on a project with me, just come over and ask. You know what I
Okay,
mean?
so I'll answer that. That's a gnome, not a norm.
No, that was just right off the cuff right there.
Okay.
All right, so gnomes are little people that sit.
Councilor Colon Hayes.
Oh, it's
stop
not me. God, oh, sorry.
Please stop for a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, please
Sorry.
let's let everyone take a deep breath. That was quite comical. So are we all kind of composed?
Yeah.
Okay, because there was also a question asked to me also. So I'm going to let Councilor Colon Hayes, I need to turn your mic back on, so if you wait a moment, okay? And she can try to, once again, explain norms, and then I do have something I would like to say at some point. So,
Okay.
Councilor Colon Hayes, your mic is on.
Thank you very much. I'm not sure if you're being serious or not, but I will answer it. A gnome is a character like a little guy that you put on your lawn.
Right.
A norm, this is, and I apologize, a norm is something that's pretty typical nowadays, but basically it's short for, I was just gonna say short for normal. Normal things that go on, but you put, it's more detailed and you all agree upon how we're gonna act together so that, like, let's say if somebody jumps in and, I don't know, cuts people off, but that's more of a, let me see. Let me see if I can read. Let me see, that's wrong.
I do that all the time.
Norms are a way, you do that all the time, that's for sure. Norms are a way of behaving, right, that are considered normal in a particular society. And you would probably learn this in the training, and I think it would be a really good thing, really, for you. It would, for all of us, but I think it would.
Listen, if you want it, that's fine with me. I just don't know what we're doing here. I don't know what the norm is. But go ahead. Well, I'm in.
Okay, so just from the floor, Okay, we did talk about it in the meet, the chair, and I know there's a couple lights on, but I just want to clarify a couple of things. We did talk about it. We do have a professional services budget within the city council budget. I have not put any money aside for it, nor have I gotten any quotes from the Mendez Group as to how much it would cost, okay? So there is no price tag that anyone can give you, Mr. Councilor Simonelli. I think we probably should have an idea of what it is, and before they're hired, maybe it should come back to the council. This is just a resolve as it is. But I also think that one of the things that, I've thought about this a lot, is norms can be important, but I think what we're really talking about with this council more is respect. And being respectful of each other. And we do have Robert's rules that do tell us how to conduct ourselves. And we are all adults. And we all have been elected by our constituents who expect us to be up here and be respectful of each other and work well together. I don't know if the Mendez Group can teach us anything. I'm not sure our constituents would want us spending $5,000 of their money to tell us to be respectful to each other when we should all just be respectful to each other and not interrupt each other and not be rude to each other, okay? And, not get in each other's space. So, I'm struggling a little with it. I think, maybe if I won't be here, so what I'll say now is, what I would suggest if this does get passed this evening, that someone come back in the Mendez Group, really tell what they're going to do. I would ask for a presentation from them and ask them how much it's going to cost. And if it all comes down to the fact that we just need to be respectful of each other, then shame on us if we have to pay someone to tell us that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, seriously. So,
So can we amend, resolve to say that, pending on the price and what they're gonna teach us before we pass it?
you could do something, you could make an amendment to that if you wanted to.
Would you do that? I mean, until we get a price tag anyway, would you mind that, Counselor? Listen, I don't have a problem with going to some classes if we need, but I'd just like to find out how much it costs first and what would be the presentation, like, get an idea of what they're gonna be teaching us before we go forward with it. So maybe pending that, or maybe if you wanna table it until we can get a price tag.
Oh, sorry, Counselor. Okay. Counselor Cologne Hayes.
So it's a resolve saying that this is something, and it's not just about being respectful, right? When we were sitting in the training, it was also a lot to do with, we were learning about how to deal with maybe, it was a lot of environmental, like, let me think of the words, let me see. So there was like racism, there was systemic racism, we were learning new terms, things that might not be, like, it's actually very telling, like if it's something that you didn't know or never heard of the word norms, it makes me even think more that we should have something like this because it goes much deeper than that, and it's just a better understanding that helps us deal with our constituents. It's not just with us, right? If something comes up and a constituent has an issue about something that maybe one of us had said, and that has come up a couple of times, I think it's good that we learn how to deal with that as a body. So, I mean, I wouldn't mind if you put a price tag on it. I thought that would be assumed, obviously, but we could add it in there if you want to, not going over a certain amount of money. I do know, like I said, we all enjoyed, unless I was at a different training, we all enjoyed it. We all said how great it was. And this is something smaller that would help us, really do our best for our constituents, which they deserve. Thank you.
All right, we do have a couple of other lights. Councillor Linehan, and once again, remember, this is just a resolve, so changing the resolve to come back with a proposal and a price tag is, pretty simple. It's not an order. So, Councillor Linehan.
I'll withdraw my motion.
No, I think your motion's good, actually.
Think? I'll leave it.
I'll be brief. I just wanted to sort of give the additional context that this did come up when we were talking about the rule book, and I think Councilor Spatafora had proposed what at the time he was calling more of a code of conduct, and our group discussion and ordinance around that, which was very much built on top of what the Mendez group had walked us through in our DEI training, was that we agreed we needed something akin to that, whether it's called a code of conduct, whether it's called norms, that we did have consensus that we would benefit from a conversation around group interactions and group dynamics. And I think we would have to put out an RFP. If this passes, we would have to sort of go out to bid anyway. So I think if we put a price cap on it right now, while I do appreciate you wanting to understand kind of what we're getting into and being able to be transparent for the community about what we're spending money on, we do, I think as a group, benefit from professional development, and this is a recommendation that our previous consultants, whether we were to go with them in the future or not, did think that we could benefit from as a group. I think it's sometimes helpful also to just get an external voice, kind of like observing your group dynamic and giving you recommendations to improve. I personally would enjoy having some development around that. I think there's always a benefit to learning. So I'm supportive of this. My take on the resolve and why I'm supporting it is that I think it's just sort of confirming what we've already talked about in a number of group settings and just stating that we agree we want to move forward with that. Obviously, this would be something for next year's council to deal with, I'm assuming, but it's just noting that we think there's value here, and I do think there's value here, and I do think it's grounded in work that we've already done already as well.
Councilor O'Malley.
I'm still in support. I think we should all get gnomes, and I will be purchasing those and bring them at our next meeting.
Okay, Councilor Crowe.
Thank you, Madam President. So I do think some professional development is really good, and if we're going to talk about an RFP, we have to be clear what we're looking for. I do think it needs to include how we talk to staff when people have been before us and really not treated, I don't think, the way, that they put a lot of work into, the way that they should be. It really has to be not just when we're at city council meeting. I said this the last time. I see comments online that I wish I never saw them, but so I think we got to sort of figure out not just how we talk to each other here, how we do it out in public, how we talk to staff, and I guess it is how we talk to constituents too, because I've seen comments and I'm like, I would never, but. Anyway, so I think if we're doing an RFP, it really sort of needs to figure out, and I know norms are different than sort of almost rules, but should they be a little more strengthened then? Because if that's how we're gonna act, then let's not bother doing it. If we're gonna do this and it's gonna be a norm and that's what we should do, but there's no action behind it, if something is really egregious, that they should be rules. My 2 cents.
Okay, so, seeing no lights, seeing no amendments, it seems like the consensus is that this is going to go out for an RFP. Somebody will have to work on it to create what's going to be in the RFP, and then it will come back to the council with a presentation and hopefully a price tag. That about sums up everything that I've heard? Okay. Pardon me?
And then we'll vote for it then.
And then we'll vote on the resolve to do the RFP, and then you'll have to vote on the RFP. Right, but there'll have to be, someone will have to get together to come up with the language that's in the RFP that will go out. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So we kind of, everybody's got that. So Councilor Cologne Hayes' motion to pass the resolve, seconded by Councilor O'Malley.
He seconded it.
Okay, you already seconded it? Okay. So, all right. Bye.
I'm on gnome time right now.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes 10-0. Okay, next order of business, please.
The Standing Committee on Finance, to whom was referred paper 325, series of 2023, having considered the same, make the following report. Committee recommends this paper out favorably to the full council as amended.
On Councilor McDonald's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The committee report is received. Clerk, would you please read the committee?
Paper
Please
three.
read the paper, rather, sorry.
Paper 325-23, order that the City of Malden rescinds the following amounts that have been authorized to be borrowed, but which have not been borrowed and are no longer needed for the purposes for which they were initially approved.
Councilor McDonald.
Thank you. So we had great discussion about this in the Finance Committee. We've got our City Treasurer, Dan Grover, here, so just tell me if I get anything wrong, but I'm gonna recap our discussion here. So this is really a housekeeping item. Once the council authorizes borrowing, which does take a supermajority, then it's up to the treasurer to go out and use that borrowing authority. But sometimes we don't need the treasurer doesn't need the full authority for various reasons that we had authorized. So these are outstanding pieces of borrowing authority that we no longer intend to use, that we're now cleaning up just so that there's no confusion or, shade on our books that potential lenders to us may inquire about. So let me just read to you what these outstanding authorizations are that we have recommended on the treasurer's prompting that we do in fact rescind. The first is $3,271 amount from park improvements in 2013. We don't really know what this one is, but you can't borrow $3,000 without spending like 5 times as much. So I think this is probably just the residual of a much larger series of park improvement loans that we know we did take out in 2013. So this one is just a cleanup. Then there are 3 loans, also from 2013, or authorizations, excuse me, for water system, 2 for water system improvements and 1 for sewer rehabilitation, of $407,000, $488,000, and $61,000, all of which are no longer needed because those are part of work with the Massachusetts Water Resources Authority. They have a loan program, and so we can choose to participate in the loan program. We in fact do just about every year. That's a big way that a lot of municipalities fund water improvement projects. So these simply just didn't get used. The program has moved on and they've just been hanging out there. We can and do authorize these kinds of water improvement loans at any time. So we supported removing those. There was a $9.3 million loan that was authorized for the construction of City Hall. And this was in case a particular funding source did not come through to purchase the condo, which is technically what City Hall is. We don't own the envelope of the building. That did come through, so this was never needed, and we never went out to borrow this money, which is great. There was another additional authority approval, that was on the books for energy efficiency improvements, which had been used for some HVAC systems in the schools. About $1.2 million that was issued in 2018. And we did make a number of these loans and in fact improvements, but we didn't use the full borrowing authority. We actually think this could be potentially useful for some other city facilities in the future, so we pulled that one off the list. We'll keep that one available should we decide to roll that into or use it for another project. So those are the borrowing authorities that we are recommending, those first 5. The park system improvements one, 3 for the water system improvements one, and the unused city hall, facilities authority.
Councilor McDonald, would you just touch base a little bit just for the general public? Because I know you've mentioned we didn't borrow, but just so people don't think that we're flush with money, that this is, just explain that this is money that we have not borrowed, how the process works.
Thank you. So this is akin to getting a credit card with a credit limit, but it's not actually buying anything. This is the credit limit that we gave to the treasurer, and we haven't racked up, but we never spent it. So this is unspent borrowing authority. Okay.
Yeah. So we're not, it's not like all of a sudden
This
we've got
money does not
$15 million.
exist.
Yeah.
This money does not exist.
The money does not exist, exactly. Councilor Winslow?
Yeah. Actually, this is more like telling your spouse they can get a credit card, but they never got the credit card. So I think that's kind of a little more accurate, right?
However you have those financial discussions.
Okay, right. But so the last one, energy efficiency project, I guess it wasn't clear on the record whether the Finance Committee amended the order, or do we need to make an amendment on the floor here? What?
We did in fact amend the order
Okay.
in committee, and so the
Okay.
order that has come back to us does not have that
Okay,
last
just
piece.
wanted that clarification, so if we vote, we don't have to make an amendment,
That's
we're
correct.
voting with that already eliminated.
That's correct.
Okay, on Council, seeing no,
I think
oh,
Councilor
Councilor O'Malley, sorry, Councilor O'Malley?
Yeah, I just wanted to like really back that home, that we amended it, so we would be approving this as amended, which reflects the fact that we removed the, we will leave on the table the energy efficiency bond
1.2
authorization. Yeah, I think it's 1.2 million approximately, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, on Councilor McDonald's motion to adopt the order,
As amended.
as amended, seconded by Councilor Linehan, the clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Counselor Condon. Yes. Counselor Crowe. Yes. Counselor Linehan. Yes. Counselor McDonald.
Yes.
Counselor O'Malley. Yes. Counselor Seega. Yes. Counselor Simonelli. Yes. Counselor Winslow. Yes. Council President Murphy.
Yes. So the order has been adopted. Next order of business, please.
Paper 380-23, Committee Report, the Standing Committee on Finance, to whom was referred Paper 326, Series of 2023. Having considered the same, make the following report. Committee recommends this paper out favorably to the full council.
On Councilor McDonald's motion to receive the committee report, seconded by Councilor Condon. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Nay. Committee report is received. Clerk, if you would please read the paper.
Paper 326-23, order that the City Council accept the provisions of MGL Chapter 203C, the Massachusetts Prudent Investor Act, and adopt a local option allowing municipal treasurers to apply the Prudent Investor Act to optimize returns on trust fund monies.
Councilor McDonald for the committee.
So the state of Massachusetts regulates the way that municipalities can invest their funds. The funds are under the control of the treasurer. And other entities like the retirement board have already moved from the baseline narrow list of state-approved companies you can invest in to the prudent investor rule, which is a standard you can now opt into, and it says you can basically invest in the full range of publicly traded assets and securities, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, etc. And so this is to extend that discretion to the two other general funds that are, they're not general, they're specific use funds, but they are within the control of the city. One is the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and the other is the Cemetery Trust. And so that's what this would apply to. It would also apply to any future trusts that the city might establish. And it gives the treasurer the authority to set an investment policy for these trusts, and to work with our investment advisors, which is Rockland Trust, to manage those funds, hopefully get a better return, and be better custodians of those funds. The thing that I'll note that we talked a little bit about in the Finance Committee is hopefully once this is adopted, the treasurer will need to write an investment policy statement, which are the guidelines for how our money will be invested, the kind of risks we take on, how we approach the mix of assets that we're looking at, and that would be the time to talk about if there are values-based kinds of restrictions that we want to put in place and clarify. I think just having the conversation was helpful, and for example, saying handgun manufacturers does not feel like the kind of company that would be aligned with what our community wants. So we don't need to purchase stocks in handgun manufacturing companies. We also talked about fossil fuel companies, some others, but while the conversation I think was helpful already, what we discussed was bringing the treasurer back at the point that we're writing this investment policy statement to have more in-depth conversation. We want to have guidelines that are practical, that are useful, and that are well integrated so that our investment advisors are clear. So we will schedule that meeting, in the next month or two when we've got a draft of investment policy statement to look at, so that we can take those things under consideration.
Thank you. So, seeing no questions, on Councilor McDonald's motion to adopt the order, seconded by Councilor Condon, clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Counselor Condon. Yes. Counselor Crowe. Yes. Counselor Linehan. Yes. Counselor McDonald.
Yes.
Counselor O'Malley. Yes. Counselor Seega. Yes. Counselor Simonelli. Yes. Counselor Winslow. Counsel President Murphy.
Yes, the order has been adopted.
Thank you, Treasurer
Next order
Grover.
of business.
Paper 381-23, Committee Report, the Standing Committee on Rules and Ordinance, to whom was referred Paper 220, Series of 2023. Having considered the same, make the following report. Committee recommends this paper as amended out favorably to the full council.
On Councilor Crow's motion to receive the committee report, seconded by Councilor Linehan. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Committee report has been received. Clerk, would you read the paper, please?
Paper 220-23, be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Malden that the Code of the City of Malden is hereby amended by adding Title IX, Chapter .08, Section .030, removal of litter at entrances. Every person or business that holds a license to sell tobacco or nicotine delivery products from the City of Malden Board of Health shall, at its own expense, provide, place, and regularly maintain a cigarette litter receptacle at any public entrance and employee smoking areas. Receptacles shall include signage that consist of simple signs, decals, or stickers that serve to inform and remind patrons that use the receptacle and that littering is against the law. Every such business shall weekly sweep up litter associated with tobacco and nicotine delivery products such as cigarette butts and packaging from any sidewalk abutting such business. Violations of this section may be punished by agents of the Board of Health and the Public Works Department in the manner provided by Mass General Laws, Chapter 40, subsection 21D, according to the punishment schedule set forth in Section 6.12.040.
Councilor Crowe for the committee.
Thank you, Madam President. So we met last week. This is a paper that you see a lot. I think just about everybody sponsored as well, but Councilor Winslow had brought it to the table. And again, it was just an observation that in front of a lot of convenience stores, there is a lot of this kind of material, and it really needs to be sort of picked up. I think some of even the thought process, if people start keeping the front of their stores clean around this, they would around other issues as well. There is the Friends of the Malden River did send a letter of support, saying when they do the cleanups at the river, a lot of this material's in the trash that they do pick up. So they were in total favor of this. It's an environmental issue. I will actually just see if I can make one amendment as we read it. In the second paragraph, it says, every such business shall weekly sweep up. Can we, I just kind of caught that as like sweep up or pick up, sweep, because I don't want it in the gutters the next, and then the street sweepers are doing it. So they sweep off.
Okay. So we have a
Can
motion.
I make a motion? As the chair of ordinance, someone make a motion that we just amend? I think picking up,
Okay. Okay, so on Councilor Crow's motion to change sweep up to pick up, seconded by Councilor Winslow, all in.
Sweep and pick up? Maybe just
Sweep
want
and-
it
sweep and
picked up.
pick up.
I mean, I'm not sure the exact, but I was just thinking sweeped up is sweeping it into the gutter. Pick up and disposal. However you like.
Okay, pick up and dispose, okay. Okay, so on Councilor Crow's motion to amend the paper to read, to delete sweep up and insert pick up and dispose of.
Yep.
Okay. Seconded by Councilor Winslow. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And we
Paper
voted
is
this out
amended.
favorably, so I'd make a motion that we approve the amended, enroll the amended.
Enroll as amended.
Yep.
Okay. On Councilor Crow's motion to enroll as amended, seconded by Councilor Winslow. Clerk, I don't have to call the roll on this one, right? No, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The paper has been amended. Enrolled,
been
I'm sorry,
enrolled.
thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you. Yes, Councilor O'Malley, 1 second.
I would move to suspend council rules with the purposes of ordaining.
It's fine.
I'll second that.
Okay, on Councilor O'Malley's motion to suspend council rules, seconded by Councilor Crowe, all those in, clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Councilor Condon. Yes. Councilor Crowe.
Yes.
Councilor Linehan. Yes. Councilor McDonald. Yes. Councilor O'Malley. Yes. Councilor Seega. Yes. Councilor Simonelli. Counselor Winslow. Counsel President Murphy.
Yes. On council, the rules have been suspended on Counselor Crow's motion to ordain,
Ordain.
seconded by Counselor O'Malley. My council rules have just passed, so we are going to take a moment's pause.
Oh,
He's buying no, he's getting a no.
We're going to take a brief pause.
that's. Get a snack and come on back.
Well, you know, it was when we just did it, I'm like, okay, now we're back to this, we're back. Oh, okay, yeah, all right, yes, all right. We'll take a 5-minute recess, 5-minute recess. Okay. 5-minute recess, okay.
Goodness.
The world knows all of this, okay, all right, 5-minute recess. All right, so it's 8:47, so
We need like some waiting music, you know, you can just turn on.
We do that, yes, we do. No, but I'm gonna learn before the 14th.
just remember it's being still taping. everyone would come back to order, please. Okay. So I believe we were on Counselor Crow's motion to ordain, seconded by Counselor O'Malley. The clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Cologne Hayes. Counselor Condon. Yes. Counselor Crowe. Yes. Counselor Linehan. Yes. Counselor McDonald. Yes. Counselor O'Malley.
Yes.
Counselor Sika. Yes. Counselor Simonelli. Counselor Winslow. Here. And yes. Council President Murphy.
Yes.
5-minute recess didn't admit.
Next order of business, please.
Paper 382-23, Committee Report. The Standing Committee on Rules and Ordinance, to whom was referred Paper 331, Series of 2023, having considered the same, make the following report. Citing Council Rule 32.01, Committee recommends Paper 331-23 be split. Language regarding job descriptions for elected officials remains as Paper 331 and was placed on the table within committee. Language regarding COLA was used to create new Paper 362-23 and is reported out favorably at this time to the full City Council.
On Counselor Crow's motion to receive the committee report, seconded by Counselor Linehan. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The committee report is received. The clerk will read the paper.
Paper 362-23, be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Malden that the Code of the City of Malden, Title II, Chapter .20, Section .020, Elected Official Salary Classification Plan, is hereby amended by inserting the following language underneath the salary chart. In order to keep pace with inflation and the cost of living, the Human Resources Director shall report to the Mayor and the Council for their consideration by September 1 of odd-numbered years the following. What the average % salary increase for city employees has been in the prior 2 years, and what a comparable change would be for the salaries of elected officials.
Okay. Counselor Crowe for the committee.
Thank you, Madam President.
There you go.
So we, as you see, Council McDonald had sponsored this, and we did discuss this as we have been talking about the salary changes for the mayor, the city council, and the school committee. Really seeing how do we not wait till it's 20-something years, 28 years or whatever it is.
18.
What?
18.
18? All right, 18 years. You know, how we get that far down. So Councilor McDonald had proposed that, you know, every other year that really HR kind of looks and gives us an update. Not that we have to change the salary schedules, but at least we kind of know where we are and not let so much time go by. We also did talk about sort of some job descriptions, and so we did separate that out. I wasn't at the ordinance committee meeting earlier, but Councilor McDonald is sort of working on that to have some language that we sort of have something in the files that just sort of says what you do as a city councilor. It doesn't have to be the 10 pages that it feels like we do, but so we're working on those two separately, but I think just having sort of a direction to say every other year someone's going to give us an update of where other things are and see if we, you know, we can make changes if we need to, but at least we'll have the information to do so. So I'd make a motion to enroll.
On Counselor Crow's motion to enroll, seconded by Counselor McDonald. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Paper's been enrolled. Okay.
Paper 383-23, Committee Report, the Standing Committee on License, to whom was referred Papers 322, Series of 2023. Having considered the same, make the following report. Committee recommends this paper out favorably to the full council.
On Counselor Sika's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Committee report is received. Counselor Sika, oh, excuse me, would you please read the paper, clerk?
Paper 322-23, Petition Livery Z. Lang, 15 Burridge Place, Malden, 1 vehicle new.
Counselor Sika?
Thank you. The committee met a couple of weeks ago, and there were no issues with this livery license, so we made a motion to grant this petition.
On Councilor Seeker's motion to grant the petition, seconded by Councilor Cologne Hayes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The petition has been granted. Next order of business, please.
Paper 384-23, Committee Report, the Standing Committee on License, to whom was referred papers 348 and 349, series of 2023. Having considered the same, make the following report.
On Councilor Seeker's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Committee report has been received. Clerk will read the paper.
Paper 348-23, Petition Livery On Point Transportation, 210 Lebanon Street, Apartment B, Malden 1, Vehicle New, and paper 349-23, Petition Livery AB Limo Services, Inc., 51 Claremont Street, Malden 1, Vehicle New.
Councilor Seeker?
Thank you. The License Committee met this evening. There were no issues with both of these locations. Per our compliance guys, we recommend these petitions out favorably. Motion to grant these petitions.
On Councilor Seeker's motion to grant these petitions, seconded by Councilor Winslow, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The petitions have been granted. Next order of business. The docket is clear, and I am going to go right to Councilor Condon. Councilor Condon, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd just like to, section of Edgeworth has gone through the last month. It's been incredible. I've never seen so many people that have passed that knew each other and lived in the neighborhood for their whole life. Don Famano suffered 2 losses in the course of 2 weeks. He lost his son, who was just a nice boy, nice man, and that's not supposed to happen. You're not supposed to lose your children. Then 2 weeks later, he lost his brother, Joseph, who was Vice President of Blue Cross Blue Shield and just a great individual. And I've never seen brothers so close, talk every day. Don went through a tough period of time, 2 weeks, within 2 weeks losing 2 family members like that. And then the Pezzatoro family had another loss. Dawn is 62 years old. The Gamby family, Judy Gizzi, she passed. And all these people, the Famani family, Nora Famani on Adams Street. And it just, the neighbors were all knew each other. And it was just a sad period of time to see all these people go through this. I know it's something that happens, but the way this happened, in all my years, I never saw it happen like this. Boom, 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 and lose so many people that were loved. So I'd like to offer a moment of silence for all these people. And if I missed anybody, I'm sorry.
Did you have something else you wanted to
Yes.
say?
And if I don't say this, I won't have a place to live tonight. But I want to wish my wife a happy anniversary. We're celebrating our we're not celebrating, but it's our 53rd anniversary this evening.
What do you get for 53 anniversary, Norms?
But, you know, I'm a lucky man, and I have a great family, and I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, happy
So
anniversary.
happy anniversary.
Okay, now, personal privilege. Okay, I figured we'd have a few lights, got a few things going on this coming weekend. Councilor Crowe.
Thank you, Madam President. So, This Saturday is trunk or treat. It's gonna be 76 degrees out during this day. That's what I hear on the news. So no rain, we hope. We'll keep that up there. But it is 4 to 6 p.m. on Canal Street at the bike path on the corner of Canal and Medford Street. We have a number of city councilors, Councilor Cologne Hayes, Councilor McDonald, Councilor Murphy, Councilor Spatafora, Councilor Simonelli.
Council Seeker?
Council Seeker. All have trunks in this year as well as a number of neighbors and businesses. And so it really is a great, fun event, a safe event. So I hope to see everybody 4 to 6 on the bike path Saturday, October 28th. And thank you all for participating.
Thank you. Councilor Winslow?
Yeah, a few things. We have in Ward, well, it's actually in Ward 5, but Ward 6 is having our Halloween celebration at the Salem Woods School this coming Sunday from 12 to 3, so we'll have some pumpkin decorations, games, and other type of things. Actually, we have some bicycle helmets that are left over, so if people need a bicycle helmet, come on and get that, and so that's one thing. And then I also don't want to say, I see Ty from Bike to the Sea here. Bike to the Sea has its annual meeting coming up in Lynn on actually November 9th, and it's actually going to be a presentation of someone who biked across the country. So, so that's a nice thing. It's something that's coming up, and I think Fall Colors Ride is on Sunday at 11 as well. So a few things there. So, yeah, please come out to the Salem Wood this coming Sunday from 12 to 3. Thanks. Great.
Thank you. Councilor O'Malley?
Thank you, Council President. At our last meeting, our last regular meeting, which was immediately following the October 7th terrorist attacks in Israel, I expressed my concern for our Jewish community. Since then, there have been many innocent lives lost, and there are still hundreds of hostages held, including Americans. And I just want to express a universal truth that I hope we can all agree with, which is, innocent civilians, whether Israeli, Palestinian, or any nationality, deserve to be treated humanely, given a chance to live freely and without fear. I pray for peace, and I pray for the safety of all innocent civilians. Amen.
Thank you, Councilor O'Malley. Councilor McDonald?
Thank you. On Monday, October 30th, we are having a public meeting about proposed and possible changes to Fitzgerald Park, which is the adorable park downtown with the Ed Emberley mural. And there was always a phase 2 envisioned, and so we are having a public meeting to talk about that. It's next Monday, October 30th at 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. We're going to meet at the park so we can talk about what some of those changes would look like. If the weather is bad, we'll meet in the lobby of 350 Main Street. But if you'd like to learn more about that park project, come check it out. Thank you.
And seeing no other lights from the chair, the Ward 5 annual Halloween party will be taking place this Sunday, again, always the Sunday before Halloween, in the Forest Hill School cafeteria from 3 to 5 p.m. Everyone is welcome. We love to see all the kids dressed up in costumes, and as I posted on my Facebook page, one of the things I really love is I love to see the family costumes, because we do have a family contest, and it's great to see the creativity when the families get together and come up with an idea. My favorite last year was the Berenstein beers. They were just absolutely adorable. So, but there's some great creative folks in our neighborhood. So we're looking forward to seeing everybody there. And once again, Sunday looks pretty good weather-wise too. So I think we'll all have a good Halloween. So, yes, Councilor Winslow.
Clerk, update our residents. We have an election on November 7th, so tell us what residents can do to vote. Thanks.
Thank you for that. I do appreciate it. So early voting is happening right now. It's going in line with the normal hours of operation in the city clerk's office up on the second floor. So no excuse needed, early voting. You just come in, no application needed. We check you in, we give you the ballot, and you vote right here at City Hall. That goes until November 2nd. Reminder to everybody that if you want to be eligible to vote in the municipal election on November 7th, you have to register to vote by 5 p.m. this Saturday. October 28th is the deadline. You can vote online through the Secretary, you can register to vote online through the Secretary of State's website 24/7, so you do not have to come to City Hall to make that deadline. You can do it right from the comfort of your own home. And then we have the deadline to submit a vote-by-mail application to get a ballot sent to your house is October 31st. So that gives us some lead time to get the mail to you in a reasonable time. So if you want to vote by mail, make sure your application is submitted to us either in person, through mail, or email. You can scan it to us by Tuesday, October 31st. We'll get that ballot out to you in the mail, and then all ballots, regardless of how you choose to vote, need to be returned to us by 8 p.m. on November 7th, which is the close of polls.
And I just would like to make one comment, because a lot of people are thinking, when you vote by mail, you take the ballot and you actually have it at home and you fill it out and then you bring it back. Early voting is not vote by mail.
That's correct.
So you might want to touch on the fact that when you come in for early voting, you can't take the ballot with you.
That's correct. Thank you for saying that. So ballots are not allowed to leave the building. And I know we have vote by mail and we have absentee ballots, but those are transported to the person's house through the United States Post Office. That is authorized. Ballots are not allowed to be carried out of the building. So if you come to vote in person during the early voting hours, we cannot permit you to leave the building with your ballot. It has to be filled out here, returned to us. We give you an affidavit envelope with your signature on the outside. We do not look at the ballot on the inside. We seal it up. And if the envelope isn't sticky enough, we can offer you glue or tape, but you are sealing your own ballot, privacy in that affidavit envelope. The ballots are not allowed to leave the building. So we do have a private sitting area where you can vote your ballot with us not looking over your shoulder, but the ballot does have to be returned to an election official before you leave City Hall.